and about whether justice in Uganda is something you can actually reach or something you can read about. And to guide us through that journey today, we have two people who don't just observe the justice sector in Uganda, they shape it. Our first guest is Racheal Odoi-Musoke, someone I've known, I think, now for, is it 20 years? At least I started seeing her about 20 years ago. That is not a reflection on... we were very, 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 very young. But she's a senior advocate and a senior institution builder. She has participated in the development of the laws of this country, from things like human rights, the rule of law, legal aid, national systems. She has been at the center of the work that turns principle into practice. Some of us are so obsessed with principle, but her work is to make principle and turn it into practice. So when we speak about access to justice, about legal aid, about things like that, I think our guest today is someone who has spent her life making it real for the people of this country. Alongside her, we have Sam Rogers Wairagala. I think Sam is a man of faith. I am right. Sam is a man of God, but he's also an economist. So he's a breath of fresh air to many of the people who are listening, because they're used to lawyers. So he's an economist, he's a strategist, and he understands that systems matter when systems deliver results. And he has also more than 20 years of shaping policy, driving performance, and turning hope into impact. So the JLOS sector, or what we all know as JLOS, covers about 30 institutions. And our guests today make it work in theory, they make it work in practice. So tonight is not about abstract ideas. Tonight is about grounded discussions, about people who are doing the hard work of making justice a reality, of people who are at the forefront of delivering for the Republic of Uganda. And where else can you find such eminent guests on a Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. than right here with us on the Judicial Service Conversations? Welcome, Racheal. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you very much for that very warm welcome.
So, I think I'll start with Sam. On the Judicial Service Conversations, we have the first question. It is a mandatory question because people want to know who you are. What makes your blood boil? What makes your heart beat? Who is Sam, and what makes this guy tick?
Thank you, Elison. Elison said I'm a believer. Yes, I am. I am a canon in the Church of Uganda. Like you've said, 20 years relating with lawyers.
No. Just Sam, sorry, if you could just start again. We had for those on our ex-audience, I think we could hear you on YouTube, but I think those on our ex-audience may have missed who you are and what makes your blood boil, your heart beat, what makes you tick.
Thank you, Elison, once again. Like you mentioned, we are all children of God, and the Bible tells us that the fear of God is the beginning of all understanding. I am a canon in the Church of Uganda, and relating to Elison over the last 20 years has diluted my economics. Now I know more law than economics. And I do everyday thinking to try and find solutions to justice problems from both economic and other angles, and also in terms of strategy and making life better than we found it when we first came into the system. And so since the work I do every day is all about justice delivery and making sure that things work, that is where the whole thing and the sphere of our life nowadays rotates. How do you make life easier for people to deliver justice? And we are not talking about some justice to some people, but justice to all people.
Okay. Thank you. Racheal, same question. What makes your heart beat faster?
Well, first of all, yes, I'm a lawyer, and I believe very strongly in the law. I think these rules exist for a reason. That's what protects us. That's what keeps us safe. So yes, I'm a passionate lawyer. Most of my career has been centered around either legal aid or law reforms. So I really believe in interpreting the law, translating it into everyday lives. That's what I do, and that's what I believe very strongly in. But I'm also a Ugandan, a mother. In both my professional and other life, I'm the person who will not shy away from a good argument. I like a good debate. I like to read. I like music. I like sports, and I enjoy being able to serve in many different capacities, both professionally and in other capacities. Yeah. So that's really who I am, in a nutshell.
Thank you. If you're just joining us, welcome to the Judicial Service Conversation. Two very special guests, Ugandans ready to serve and economists who forgot economics. and with us in the trenches of legal life. And we all like an argument. Although here we are peaceful. Here in the Judicial Service Conversations, we are peaceful. Now, we're talking JLOS House today. And we're talking JLOS House, but I think the first question, Racheal, and I'll start with you, that many people want to know is JLOS. What's JLOS? Why was it established? What gap was there? People talk of the JLOS program. People talk of the JLOS sector. People talk of what JLOS, where does JLOS fall? Which government entity is it in? And things like that. So I think people just want to just have as a basic understanding. For many in our audience who have never heard of JLOS, I was going to ask what makes it tick, but maybe not. But if you could just tell us what JLOS is.
We could also maybe talk about what makes it tick, because I think it has grown in so many ways. But maybe just to take us back a few years. So JLOS stands for the Justice, Law and Order Sector. And what it is a grouping of government institutions whose mandates revolve around administration of justice and maintenance of law and order. So it's the whole range of institutions whose mandates rest around that area, working together as a team. Its origins, its genesis is from 1999, when several senior members of the justice sector, the Chief Justice Emeritus, Justice Odoki, the Solicitor General at the time, the DPP at the time, sat down together at what we now call famously the Mamba Point meeting. And they sat down over lunch and they said, we have problems. We have a lot of challenges. We're not speaking to each other. The justice system is extremely disjointed. What can we do to bring these things together? And so they worked out a system of it was founded around the concept of a chain, the chain link. Okay. And the idea, the principle was that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So you have these, at the time, about 10 criminal justice institutions who were simply not talking to each other. You have a criminal session in court, The police don't have the file. The suspect has not been produced in court because nobody spoke to the other. It's not coordinated. It's not organized. If they have coordinated, one has resources, the other one doesn't. And they said, no, we can work out a way in which we work together to fix this situation. So they came together under that arrangement, set up the Chain-Linked Initiative, which then morphed into the Justice, Law and Order sector. Now, the Justice, Law and Order sector itself was constituted under the government planning framework at that time. So at that time, government of Uganda was planning under the sector-wide approach. So every institution of government belonged to a sector, depending on its mandate. So all the justice institutions were grouped under the Justice, Law and Order sector. There were initially 10, primarily the criminal justice institutions. So we had judiciary, DPP, Ministry of Justice, police, prisons, a few others. So it was principally the criminal justice chain, but over time it grew to include aspects of commercial justice, aspects of civil justice, family justice, land justice, and eventually grew to be 18 institutions, all of them dealing with the administration of justice and the maintenance of law and order. So the JLOS institutions under that arrangement were implementing a common planning framework. So they would sit together every year and plan, have a strategic plan, say these are the strategic reforms that we want to implement this coming year. And those reforms would be discussed, would be costed, they would be prioritized, because you decide this year this is what we want to do, next year this is what we're going to do. This year we're going to work on the prison system. Next year we're going to work on the police structures. The year after that we're building court buildings. So they prioritized, pulled together resources under the sector-wide fund, and implemented strategic reforms. So in a nutshell, that's what the Justice, Law and Order sector was. It was part of the government planning framework, but specifically the chain around the justice system. And through that process, we implemented what we called the 3 Cs, the 3 Cs being the principles that guided that partnership. 3 Cs were communication, coordination, and cooperation. So these institutions would communicate with each other, coordinate their activities, and through that have a cooperative approach towards justice reforms. And that, in essence, is what the Justice, Law and Order sector was and is.
Wow, thank you. If you're just joining us, welcome to the Judicial Service Conversations. We're joined by 2 very important and fantastic guests, but I want to just stick with you, Racheal, on that same point that you're raising. I also want to declare an interest. When I had the Solicitor General, the Chief Justice, it became clear to me that one of my partners, Mr. Peter Kabatsi, was the Solicitor General at the time. So we are still giving back to society. This is not a marketing pitch, but anyhow, what are the institutions that fall under JLOS, and how you've talked about cooperation, coordination, and communication. So what are the institutions that fall under them, and how does the sector manage to coordinate? Because many government institutions they're independent. Every time I hear about government institutions, they like this word independence. We're independent. So what are how does the sector coordinate, and what are those institutions that fall under it? If you could just give an understanding. I was thinking of some friends of mine. I can see them on the call. I can see friends of mine from ULS. I don't know if it's an institution that falls. I can see friends of mine from SFC. So what are the institutes? Because you talked about security as well.
So the JLOS, as it was then, had 18 institutions. Yes, these are independent entities. These are all ministries, departments, agencies, with their own mandates and their own structures, but brought together under this common planning framework. And I'll say a little bit about how that worked, but maybe just so that we know who we're talking about. We had the judiciary, we had the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, We had the Ministry of Internal Affairs. We had the Ministry of Local Government, but specifically for local council courts. We had the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, but specifically focusing on juvenile justice. We had the Judicial Service Commission, the Uganda Human Rights Commission, the Uganda Law Reform Commission, the Uganda Prison Service, the Uganda Police Force, the Office of the DPP, the Uganda Law Society, the Tax Appeals Tribunal, Uganda Registration Services Bureau, National Identification and Registration Authority, the Law Development Center. At the time, we also had the Center for Arbitration and Dispute Resolution, CADA. So those were the institutions that formed the justice, law and order sector. Now you'll see from that we have the judiciary, which is a complete arm of government. We had constitutional commissions, we had ministries, we had other agencies. So they all had their standalone mandate, their separate mandate, but this is a collection for purposes of reforms, purposes of strategy and purposes of coordination. So what we did was we had structures to help us to do that. Structures at different levels. We had a leadership committee chaired by the Chief Justice, comprising of the ministers and the constitutional heads and other political heads. And that was the institution that provided the political guidance for the JLOS structures. We then had a steering committee, which was chaired by the Solicitor General and comprised of all the permanent secretaries and accounting officers, which was responsible for the policy direction and the overseeing of the implementation of the sector programs. And then we also had the technical committee, which were officers at commissioner level, director level, and these were the technical minds who would think up all the concepts, the projects, the dreams. Theirs was to do the dreaming and the thinking and the planning, which would then be presented to the leadership. We also had strategic or thematic working groups under the technical committee, focusing on specific issues. So you'd have a working group focusing on commercial justice, a specific one for land, one for family, one for criminal justice, and they would focus on those specific issues. Over time, we also established subnational structures. So we had structures at the district and the regional level. We have the district chain-linked committees. People who have worked at the district level or who have engaged with many JLOS institutions will know of the district chain-linked committees, or the DCCs, and the RCCs. So these are the same JLOS actors at either the district or regional level, sitting together, meeting together, solving problems, coordinating, talking to each other, and basically implementing the sector programs at that level. Maybe just to clarify, right now we have progressed, we have transited, the entire government planning framework has transited from a sector-wide approach to a program-based approach, but we still maintain the justice, law and order services under the wider umbrella.
What's the difference? What's the difference between sector and program?
The difference is more in the structuring, because now with the programs we have, how they are focused is a little bit different. For example, now we are under a wider governance and security program. So we deal with a broader range of issues. The planning frameworks are slightly different. With the sectors, it's more about the immediate business, but here we're looking at the strategic linkages across the program, those things that tie these different institutions together and that reinforce their implementation. So it's a strategic shift, but the JLOS system still exists under that broader governance and security program. So we do have the justice, law and order services under that broader program.
Sorry, just to get clarity. So that means we are talking, just to get clarity, when you talk about the governance and security program and the JLOS services, so the JLOS, the original institutions still cooperate together under the governance and security program, but the governance and security program includes a wider sphere of government agencies? Or?
Yes. In a nutshell, that's exactly what it is.
Okay, and maybe just before we move to you, Sam, on the last point on that, I think many people want to know, so you have the member point meeting. They meet together, the Chief Justice and team. You form the JLOS sector. There's coordination, there's cooperation, there's communication. You have the government program the government security program. You have all of that coming together at a functional level. When you look at the track record since 99, what as a person who's really, because I think at least since about 2007 or 6, you've been involved in many of these things. What would you consider, Racheal, as the most significant achievement of JLOS at an institutional level? This new framework. What did it achieve, and what do you think still needs to be done?
I think at its most basic, we were able to strengthen these justice institutions to the point where they can deliver on their mandates effectively. By 1999, if anyone had interacted with the justice system at that time, it had a lot of very basic problems, as simple as not having paper, not having pens. Inmates walked to the prison, sometimes 20, 30 kilometers tied with rope. We've been able to strengthen the institutions in such a way that they are able to provide the services effectively. They are running very efficiently. These are strong, robust institutions now. If you go to the police force, they're not talking about walking someone or a suspect. They have police stations, they have equipment, they are well trained, they are running the way a police force should run. Similarly, when you go to the courts now, they are in home premises. They have the necessary equipment, the necessary tools. So in terms of institutional building, the institutions were strengthened, and that was one of the first things that the JLOS undertook to do. They looked at just basically dealing with the systems issues, and that was done. So these institutions now are effective, structured institutions. And remember, by 1999, they were still recovering from the post-1986 era. They were recovering from a time when they had completely collapsed. But now we have robust, strong institutions that are even going beyond the basics of paper and stationery. Most institutions now will be talking about automation, they'll be talking about technology, they'll be talking about strategic issues, they'll be talking about what are the current areas of justice and law that are being practiced. So they've grown and evolved so much more than from where they were in that period running up to when the JLOS was established. And I think that has been the biggest part of the coordination.
And what do you think is the challenges?
Challenges, the legal space is always evolving. 10 years ago, we wouldn't have been talking so much about technology. We wouldn't have known about things like AI. Crime, the manifestation of crime changes every year. Criminals are sharper than everybody else, and so we have to keep up with some of these changes, so that the legal system keeps growing, it keeps evolving, because people change, human beings change, the way we live our lives change. When we started, for example, transactions were all in cash. Most people had a small handwritten passbook to go to the bank to draw their money. Right now, I'm sure if we checked, almost none of you has cash on you, because cash transactions are not that common. When that changes, the law must change, the legal system must change, how you respond to crime, how you respond to society changes. So it's a constantly evolving environment. The law has to keep reforming itself. The actors who are managing this process have to keep retraining, refreshing themselves. So it's a journey. The reforms are a journey. They're never an end result in themselves. They're a journey. So I wouldn't call it a challenge. I think it's more of, it's something that we always have to keep in mind and not remain stagnant. To just keep abreast of what is always happening, how things are changing, how things are evolving, and keep up with those changing times. So it's an obligation that we have.
Joining us, welcome to the Judicial Service Conversations, and today we are moving from infrastructure to impact. We are understanding JLOS House, and you've seen the fantastic infrastructure work that has been done. Some we are coming to you right now, but before we do, allow me to welcome those who are just joining us from wherever they're joining us from. And I did not introduce to you my colleagues in the Judicial Service Conversations. one right now, Mercy Makabai Chimotal. Mercy is a very, very, I was going to say senior, but that's not true. She's a very serious lawyer. She's an advocate of the courts of judicature. She's a co-host of the judicial service conversations. She's an advocate of the courts. For our YouTube audience, I think we had lost you shortly, but she's an advocate of the courts of judicature. She's our co-host here, and she's a serious inquisitor. So, and she knows how to question economists so thoroughly and so powerfully. So, Sam, prepare yourself for a series of questions. Over to you, Mercy. She's not going to ask you Keynesian theory, but she because she's not a Keynesian herself. She's more. She doesn't believe in state interference with the economy. She's more like an Adam Smith person. She believes in the undiluted sub-market economics. She's a capitalist because she likes capital. But over to you, Mercy.
Thank you very much, Elison. I hope you've scared our panelist for the day. I hope he's not going to be scared by the question I'm going to ask him. Thank you very much for joining us today. My question is directed to you, Sam. Listening to Racheal, there is a very rich history for JLOS, and the idea behind it is very rich. How have you remained inspired as the current JLOS team to keep that fire burning, and how are you ensuring that the generations to come have that same mindset? Because there's a lot of fragmentization happening, there's new minds in the systems right now. How are you ensuring that the people within JLOS, the team you're working with right now, are keeping that fire burning, especially yourself, who is currently heading a big part of the JLOS team right now?
Thank you, Mercy. And thank you for being merciful at the same time. Like Racheal said, the JLOS story is a journey that has taken place over time, and we have gone through a series of changes. To sum it up, we started with stabilization, like Racheal said. We moved into brick and mortar reforms, where we focused on infrastructure and making sure that the institution is had somewhere to work from. We realized that the brick and mortar itself was not delivering, and so we focused on how do we relate the bricks and mortar to the unique demands of the people, and we focused on result and impact. But we realized that going forward you need to create systems, and so we focus on making sure that now that you are stable, now that you have infrastructure, now that you are talking about impact, how do you create that one as a system? And we believe that going forward we are not working for systems, we are working for people. So linking results to systems to the people, and ideally these are not things that one can go away with. They are things that remain part of the culture.
Results to
systems to the demands of the people, and so this particular story is what we pass on from one set of people to another. In the delivery of these reforms is not done by the Secretariat where we sit. It's delivered by the institutions, and so we try as much as possible to build capacity within the institutions to take forward these processes. Actually, we have been a strong training ground for many institutions. I want to mention that some of the high-ranking people in some of the institutions have once served either on the technical committee or other committees within the Justice Law and Order arrangement, and that gives us an opportunity to show that we are having a succession plan. And the succession plan is one that ensures that we grow a critical mass of people with the right thinking, with the ability to understand and appreciate how reforms come up, and how to buttress them and ensure that they continue delivering on what we aim at delivering as an institution. The whole aspect is also to ensure that we link to a whole of government approach, so that it's not seen as an intervention of a few people, but also one that is buttressed within the national planning framework, and we sell these ideas across board to the various institutions, to the various programs. It's very nice that today we are talking about the program-based approach. Sector-wide, you are bringing together people of like mind. Those who deal with the criminals, you put them together. But with the program approach, we are saying those who deliver same result. If you are contributing to the same result, then you are brought together. So we are moving away from merely grouping people that look alike to bring to grouping institutions to deliver a particular result. And this gives us an opportunity to move beyond what we are currently doing and also have a long-term impact and succession planning.
Thank you very much, Sam. That brings me to my next question. I think while we're listening to Racheal, there's an example that she brought about the people who are in prisons who had to walk a number of kilometers to get to maybe courtrooms at that time, and a number of other challenges that were being faced in 1999. But for someone who's just looking at the judicial system, the police, and the Law Development Center, they may think that these different entities have their own budgets and they'll use that money to deliver whatever it is that we're seeing right now. So it's hard to, I think for the benefit of the people in the space, could you maybe give at least 5 specific contributions that JLOS has made to the development of access to justice by partnering or working or bringing together these different institutions and NGOs?
Thanks so much, Mercy. I'll begin with some of what we refer to as the most obvious. One, bring services closer to the people. For Elison, who was closer to the former Solicitor General, you notice that around 2004-05, during the war in northern Uganda, there was no civilian administration. What we would refer to as courts were actually military establishments. Over time, through the JLOS arrangement, we have been able to put up one-stop service points in over 90 districts in this as I speak now. That those places have a police station, DPP office, and a court, and we have been able to reduce the distance that people traverse in search of justice, law and order services from over 30-kilometer radius to under 15, and we have also been able to reduce time taken to receive services in many of these institutions, be it URSB or the others, because of the investments we have done in terms of automation and also in terms of strengthening capacity of these institutions and the geographical spread of these institutions. I know for a fact that in 2002-03, all Ministry of Justice clients would come to Kampala. We have now been able to decentralize Ministry of Justice to now more than 8 regional offices, and 5 of them have been constructed under this arrangement. Of course, not forgetting some other non-infrastructure related investments, including technology, ensuring that the institutions are interlinked, are able to talk to each other, ensuring that the capacities in institutions are undertaken, the whole aspect about reform of laws and ensuring that we have a clean statute book. You notice now that the laws are available online. It just did not come out of the blue. It is now easier for any lawyer to have the necessary legal reference materials quite easily, including whether in soft copy or in hard copy. If you notice that until around 2005-06, the laws had been revised and until I think about 1980. So you had these laws scattered in different pieces. So you could not tell which one is the actual law. That is now something of the past. That we now are talking about up-to-date legislation, up-to-date statute book. But also important to notice that we are trying to address some of the other critical demands of the indigent persons, the children, the widows, the orphans, and also people who are poor and would require services. That's why we are coming up with some of smaller interventions, including legal aid, to buttress the Poor Persons Defense Act. I think Elison, that's why I'm telling him I no longer remember Adam Smith, because you have spoiled my things. But by and large, the ability for these institutions to talk to each other is the biggest change. That now a policeman can talk to a judicial officer without anybody thinking that they are conniving to defeat the cause of justice. It's very critical. It's a big achievement that has come out of this arrangement, because most of the challenges we face in justice delivery are not money, they are not infrastructure, but the ability to coordinate, the ability to communicate, the ability to work together as institutions. We can do a lot by progressing on that front as well.
And if you're just joining us, welcome to the Judicial Service conversations. I'll hand back to you, Mercy, shortly. But if you're just joining us, welcome. We are discussing today from infrastructure to impact, and I can confirm that I have traveled around the country in almost every region of this country, and I can confirm that there are police stations next to DPP offices, next to some judicial offices. So the impact is felt for those who are in many of these places. I can also confirm, for those who are just joining and you've been hearing about the laws in one place, some of you may not know about you may not be as legally grounded as some. But our laws are contained in what we call red volumes, and so you'll find, for example, someone saying chapter this of the laws of Uganda 2000 edition. So all the laws are put together in these red volumes and divided in different chapters, almost like sectors and programs. Mercy, over to you.
Thank you, Sam, for that very elaborate response. I think it gives kind of clarity on the specific contribution that JLOS does make to increase access to justice. I think a lot of the people in the space would be happy to hear more examples about how the relationship between the different institutions that are under the JLOS framework have had an improved connectivity or coordination. And maybe if you could give us a couple of examples to kind of humanize that output, it would be very helpful. But my next question is, what do you think are the key performance indicators or the metrics that JLOS uses to determine whether it's working better towards achieving its goals, and who holds JLOS accountable to those particular key performance indicators, and how is this information accessible to the general public so that we know that we're able to say JLOS has done XYZ over the past many years?
Yeah, thank you so much. One, public trust. This particular indicator is one of our flagship indicators to measure the extent to which people trust the system. How much confidence do they have within the system? If people have no trust in the system, they resort to their own ways of doing things. You've heard of mob justice. I don't know whether we should call it Bob justice or mob injustice. You know, the reason why people resort sometimes to taking the law in their own hands is when they don't have confidence that they will get results if they make use of the existing systems. And we can say that we now are talking about over 69% public confidence in the justice system, from as low as 28% way back in 2003. So we have grown that now people feel confident. I can say that even recently, when people they're voting, everybody is saying, I am going to court, I am going to the law, I'm going to. It is an indicator of how much trust and confidence they have within the system, and that has not come. It has been intentional. It has been intentional because we've looked at what are those factors that impact on public confidence. Why do people? What would affect the trust that somebody has within the system? And this is what we have been able to address by talking to one another, by joint investment, and by ensuring that we tackle some of these impediments. The other indicator we have been measuring is satisfaction. If you come to the system, how satisfied are you? You know, these are experiences that you have with the system. I know you are satisfied when it comes to the process of getting a passport. Are you not? You don't. You apply in the confines of your sitting room. You even pay with the mobile money. You only go there to take biometrics.
Yes.
And after 5 days, you receive an SMS telling you go back and collect your. I believe everybody sees that this is possible, and is being happened. It has not happened out of the blue. So we also track satisfaction. There is a recent governance and security study by UBOS that has established that 82% of the people that come through the system leave when they are satisfied, whether to the police, to the courts, to the DPP, to the other places, and these studies are there. We do not participate in collecting this particular data.
Maybe they were measuring complainants.
They are not complainants. I would just go to if you don't have a copy, go to the website of Uganda Bureau of Statistics, the National Governance and Security Survey 2005. You'll get that. It's a recent publication. But we have also done similar. We have also had related studies undertaken by other international agencies, like the Hague Institute for Innovating Law. Of course, yes. They have also done the similar studies, and they have also almost come with. Actually, the results are even showing much higher performance in these particular areas. The issue of many people demonize human rights commissioners. Though people think about prisons and the challenges that we had. Racheal talked about people being tied on ropes and walking long distances. We had a challenge of sanitation within the system, and we have been able to eliminate that related the system 99%. Where it exists is because some of the prisons are either in a uniport or on land that does not belong to government, and therefore we cannot address some of these aspects. And before they stopped, the World Bank stopped the doing business index and measurement. We were seeing the progress we're making, but we can also say that today, if you want to open a company in your house, within 1 hour, you can do it if you have all the information submitted. You don't have to go to your RSB to file returns, and also to even when you want to get documents stamped and so on, filed with the registrar, you don't have to go there. You don't need to know anybody in those places. These are all realities for you to see that now it takes a maximum of 3 hours for you to open and have a company fully running. And these are some of the aspects that we have. Information, we have it on our website. We produce annual reports every year, and semi-annual reports, and these ones are available on the JLOS website, www.jelos.go.ug. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. If you're just joining us, welcome to Judicial Service Conversations. And you mentioned the Uganda Human Rights Commission. I must give a shout out to the Uganda Human Rights Commission. They have been listening to you since you started. I see the official handle of the Human Rights Commission. I am also seeing a number of friends of ours who are police officers. And then I have also seen a suspect, but that is so I think we are I should not tell the policeman who the suspect is. Nonetheless, the other guest we have, the other host we have present with us today is Mr. Alfred Muyaka. Mr. Muyaka is the secretary. I keep saying this. He's the Secretary General. Is that I think that's the correct title. He's the Deputy Secretary General of the East African Law Society. But he's in charge of young lawyers. That means, allegedly, that he's young. And as you can see him, he looks very young. He doesn't look like an under-16 player for the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who only put under 16. All of them are always, without question, under 16. But Mr. Muyaka is also one of our great hosts here. He calls himself a Chibanja lawyer, but he's a corporate and commercial lawyer. He's a litigation lawyer. He's a land lawyer. He's a leader of lawyers. So I will give Alfred the next set of questions.
Yeah, thank you. The lawyer's lawyer, who is also my lawyer, and thank you, our guests today, for joining us. For sharing us the JLOS story with us. When Mr. Sam was saying that he takes 1 hour or 3 hours to open a company, the young lawyer on call was saying, so clients are going to think that if we charge 900,000 to open a company, so it means in 3 hours I can make 1 million. Like, you people make a lot of money. But that's not the case, not affect the charging. And then someone made a comment regarding the distance to access to the services being reduced, but the services being received. But I think when you give the statistics where you show that 82% live satisfied, it means the services are being received. But now getting back to my question as a young person, because you see this one-stop center where we have voices together, the plan dates back to 1999. So as a young person, I think, just hearing, I think 1 year by but we broke ground in 2022. So I think I'm born and there is paperwork that we are going to have a top center. But then we break ground 2022 when I'm already like a lawyer. So what accounts for that gap in between there? And what did you later do? What changes were made to make the project happen? So that we are now discussing it, because it's now we are seeing it happening. Thank you.
Who are you asking? Who are you asking?
Yes. Yes, so I was asking my marriage.
Oh, okay. 1999 to 2022, what were we doing all that time? So the concept, the idea of a one-stop center was something that had always been brewing. Of course, when you're all sitting together and you're coordinating and you say, you know what, let's not only work together from where we are, let's come together. So the concept was implemented in many forms. Initially, we implemented it at the district levels because that's where the crisis was. People were walking 30, 40 kilometers to reach services. You get to court and the court says, the police says, oh, we don't have the police file. And the police station is another 15 kilometers or 20 kilometers away. So the one-stop center concept was first fully implemented at the district level. So as Sam mentioned, we had that brick and mortar phase where we concentrated on the one-stop service centers at the districts. able to cover by the time we had finished almost close to 80% of districts at the time. So that's where it came, because that was the most urgent priority. But of course we always had it in the back of our minds that even at the headquarter level there was still a problem. But like we mentioned, there was an issue of prioritizing. When you have resources, you decide what is the most pressing problem. And the most pressing problem at the time was the districts. Now that we've covered a large portion of the districts, there's still a few, and that progress is still going on. We turned our attention to the headquarters, where institutions were in diverse different places, renting. Some of them were in places, I'm sure those of you're all lawyers, at some point you visited some of those places. You knew where URSB was at a certain point in time, where Administrator General was. They were not built for that purpose. They were not designed for that purpose, and sometimes they were not in the most convenient of places. Your neighbors might be bar, the next neighbor is selling dresses, so it wasn't the most conducive space. So it's at that point where we said, now that we have focused on the districts and we have been able to deliver, let's do something for the headquarters. So the concept began to develop. Now, of course, at this point, you're looking at a concept where you're bringing together 18 institutions under one arrangement. It takes a lot of discussion, a lot of compromise, a lot of design, a lot of planning, and then there are the basic things. You have to look for the land, you have to get the titles, you have to process the normal processes. So of course we went through all that process until we reached the point where we say we have designs, we have the processes, and now the issue was the funding. How do you get the money to fund this? And we looked at many options, tried out a few different things, looking for what was the best way for us to raise the money for us to be able to do this, and eventually after a lot of discussions, a lot of engagements with different stakeholders, including the Ministry of Finance, and at all levels, we eventually were able to come to a point where we had the land, we had the resources, we had the designs, and we were ready to kick off the process. Now, of course, with every public process, when you're dealing with public funds, it's not the same as when you're dealing with private funds. I don't get my money, go and find myself an architect, pay him that afternoon. Next day, I've paid a contractor, and they're on-site building. There are processes as well, procurement and the likes. So when you add up the time, it does appear like there was a lot of time of nothing happening, but it was actually a lot of time of planning, strategy, design, coordinating, to make sure that at the end, what we have is the right fit. The building that has been constructed is a purpose-built building. And for us to do that, we had to understand the purpose of each of those institutions that's going to be in that building as a one-stop center, because they do different functions. So you have to design it knowing that you have to provide for the Attorney General's chambers. They need a certain type of working environment. You need to provide for a tribunal hall. You need to provide for Administrator General. You need to provide for tax appeals. So there's a lot of conceptualizing, a lot of designing. So the space looks very long, but there was a lot happening in that time.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Maybe taking it from another angle, they say when you're going to build a skyscraper, you build a very, very deep ground level. So the result of underground building, the roots were built. So now we can see the skyscraper at this point. And maybe that takes me to the next question, because you see, the bit of the institutions talk to each other is a bigger change because of this, and it also makes the ability to coordinate, makes access to justice easier, because usually you would go to, let me say, Parliamentary Avenue to Attorney General, then you go just to, let me say, renewing a PC for lawyers. You first go to Georgian House, again to Attorney General, again. Yet, if they are together, door to door, you just step there and there, so it makes things easier. So now I'm wondering, before JLOS House be coming together with all this widespread across Kampala in several rented, to be a bit kind, not very good stable offices for people who want to come to access justice. What this fragmentation or having offices all over where they could be together actually cost in terms of shillings, the movements around people, in terms of time, because time you go to police there, you go to judiciary there, you go to another office the other side, and also in the experience of citizens trying to navigate the system or trying to access justice. Because if you get a person, let me say, it's coming from Namayingo and he wants the Attorney General, and it's like, you go to the other road, then after, like, I want to also the Attorney General, you go to the other road. So imagining the cost how the cost was at that point. Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I keep forgetting. But this is also addressed to Madam Racheal, sorry.
Yeah, it was the same up country, but it's the same in the city. So you imagine somebody has come from Tororo, has come from Arua, is seeking services of Administrator General. They arrive at the bus park, and they know, someone has told them the Administrator General is in the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. They've got whatever little they have and managed to find their way up to Parliament Avenue, and then you tell them, oh, no, now you have to go to that place near CPS, Georgian House, and they get there and they say, but now you need to go and get a certificate of good conduct. You have to go all the way back to Naguru. So the idea is that someone should be able to get services as easily as possible. And if they're interrelated services and we can have them together, then that's the best solution we have. So that was really the concept. That's the idea. To some of us, it doesn't look like a lot. You either drive your car and you say, because that difference in fuel between City Square and Parliament Avenue may not affect the lawyer's lawyer. but for somebody else, it might actually be the deciding factor for them to say, you know what, I let me just go back home. So it might look like small bits, but it adds up, and that cost adds up, and it's increasing the weight of what it takes for someone to access a service that they are entitled to. So when you have these things all together, one, it's easy for you to advise, it's easy for you to refer, and it's even easy for us to now bring the service to the person. If we're all in the same building and someone is seated in my office, I just call and I say, are you in? I'm sending this person, they're coming down to see you. This person needs this, please walk across to this floor. And that was the essence, that was the idea, that we should be able to serve people as quickly as possible.
Yeah, thank you for that. Now that's a beautiful story from 1999 up to now. And now lawyers love money. So I won't talk about Council Nicholas, but he also loves money. He's wondering the money bit. How was the project financed and delivered finally after all that history? Now that we have the project financed and you are delivering, and you are glad you're delivering at the Parliament of the Bar. So how was it? Still, this is to Mama Racheal before you get back to Sam. Yeah, thank you.
This has been financed by the government of Uganda. Again, what we've done over time is prioritize within our budgets and say this is the amount of resource we need. We've had all the support we need from the Treasury, so we financed that. We did have some initial support, especially when we were at the initial phases, from some of our partners who provided some resource that helped us to deal with some of the planning issues and some of the initial designs. But this has been a project funded by the government of Uganda.
Okay. Once again, if you're just joining us, welcome to the Judicial Service Conversations. I will ask, I think this question maybe both of you can answer it. Maybe I'll start with you, Racheal, and then I'll go to Sam. And this is a question I've got from someone in the audience who prefers to remain anonymous. And this audience question has come from a person who seems to be very critical of the JLOS sector. And the person says that the problem with the JLOS framework is that it is a donor-puffed platform, not anchored in institutional foundation, in law, or in policy. JLOS doesn't produce civil servants. It is about donors, donor-paid people. They are posturing is the word, and claiming success But the Chief Justice claims he's the one who has expanded the courts. Yuli claims they're the ones who have made it accessible. URSB claims it has improved things. JLOS claims it has done all these things. So tell us, what exactly is JLOS? What legal policy and institutional framework are they anchored in? And are they a donor-imposed project? Now, the person who sent this question is the one I had earlier identified as a suspect. So, and you can see the suspect is asking, but the reason why the suspect doesn't want their name disclosed, I must also say, is because they have seen some policemen on the thing. So, over to you.
Yeah, maybe just to clarify first and foremost, it's not a project. JLOS is not a project. Like I mentioned in my introductory remarks, JLOS it was a sector of government like any other government sector. So government had numerous sectors: land sector, health sector, education sector, security sector, and the justice law and order sector. I think the difference was that the justice law and order sector was a bit more, it had multiple agencies as compared to some of the other sectors. So for example, many of the other sectors was centered around a single ministry. So you'd have health sector, the Ministry of Health with its attendant agencies, education sector. With JLOS, there were multiple ministries, multiple agencies. So it gave the appearance that it was different from the other sectors, but it wasn't. It was a sector under the Government of Uganda planning framework, like any other sector, and still operates under the Government of Uganda planning framework. In terms of whether it was donor funded, many other sectors have donor funding for different things. And similarly, the JLOS had donor funding for certain things. But foundationally, Government of Uganda is funding these reforms up to today. So it's a perception, I think, because there was a platform for participation of many of these partners, but it is a Government of Uganda structure, Government of Uganda funded program. The activities, that the structure is Government of Uganda funded. Maybe just to also clarify something, because your suspect says, judiciary says they did this, URSP said they did that. As Sam mentioned, the JLOS was the planning framework, but the institutions are independent institutions with their mandates. So they would say, this is what I want to do, and they would get the support. So it's right, they're right when they say judiciary did this. They're right when they say URSP did this, police did this, because that is what happened. But there was coordination. And what the sector did was the coordination and assisting to, make the case for certain things, or aligning priorities so that if for example, one institution has gone into automation, the others are encouraged to go the same way, and maybe some resources are made for them to kick it off. But them claiming the credit is true. These are achievements of these institutions under the sector-wide approach. So I think it's more of a conception issue. It's not, they're not wrong when they say that. It's the truth. These are achievements of these institutions.
Okay. I don't know if you want to add.
Thank you, Elison. I think we need to take this JLOS and its institutions as a body. Elison, when they ask you, did you see? I don't think the eye will say I'm the one who saw and not the nose, because every aspect of your body has a particular function. And definitely, if it is about courts, Minister of Justice will not come here and claim I built the courts. The central focus and lead institution for constructing courts will definitely be the judiciary. The central institution for delivery of registration of businesses and aspects related to it will be URSB. So the institution cannot lie back and say, okay, because it was done under the ambit of the justice law and order sector, I was just a spectator. They are part and parcel of this concept and as well as the framework for delivery of these particular results. No single institution delivers them alone, but they all work together to deliver. But there is always a lead institution in delivery of a particular result.
Okay.
Maybe just also to echo that funding for these programs is about 90% government, and there is a component of about 10% or so from development partners. We appreciate the contribution of development partners. We don't negate it, but it builds on what the resources that government has, and sometimes the development partner component helps to rally government funding to a particular area. I'll give an example of I think around 2005 there was no fire truck in Kampala. You saw those Mercedes-Benz trucks. They were bought under the Justice Law and Orders planning framework. They were the only ones around. You saw but they were bought for the police, and so if the IGP says I bought fire engines, it is not lying. The same to during about the same time, we bought two buses for Uganda prisoners, but because of their efficiency, one would think that maybe Uganda prisoners has 80 buses, but that one was also done under this arrangement to try and address the challenge of prisoners walking to court. But definitely the Commissioner General of Prisons will say I bought buses, but this arrangement made it possible that resources could be set aside for this particular aspect to be done.
When you talk of cars, of security organizations, police, prisons, some people keep thinking that some of the drivers should also become suspects for violating various provisions of the Traffic and Road Safety Act. But that is a discussion for another day. I can see the police from traffic are here. We shall have a conversation with them on that. Now, the other person who I want to ask a few questions is Joy E. Mbabazi. Joy is also a young lawyer. She calls herself Joy E. She's online. She's going to ask a question. She's a fascinating, interesting young lawyer. She has a background in media. She knows media things. She keeps advising us. She has good, serious questions. She has an organization of young lawyers with Alfred. The organization has two people, Joy and Alfred. One of them is the team leader. The other is the founder. So as you can see, she knows exactly how to share power. Over to you, Joy.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Can I be heard?
Loud and clear.
Thank you very much, team, and special appreciation and recognition to you, Mr. Sam and Mr. Racheal. We're grateful that you gave us your time to be a part of today's judicial service conversations as we discuss JLOS House from infrastructure to impact. And we also want to appreciate all of you that have plugged in today and that are always plugging in every Wednesday. We appreciate you, and these conversations are very insightful, they're educational, and we've been branded due to public demand. This is not us, the Parliament of the Bar. I think there was an edit, Parliament of Lawyers, or something like that, but we are happy to be here and to have you. Now, Mr. Sam, I would like to go to you first. And I would like to take us into JLOS House, because we've heard quite a lot about the changes, the building, and where it has come from. But for somebody who just has maybe to paint a visual of what the JLOS House is like, when they haven't really had an opportunity to come in, or probably they've just passed by it, what are some of those features that make JLOS House functionally different from the traditional setup? And if you may, give the specifics of the design features and how you think these particular ones change how citizens interact with justice when it comes to institutions. Over to you, Mr. Sam.
Thank you. I'm happy that I'm dealing with a person, big executive. That's what Elison said. Maybe just something small is that the institutions that are going to be housed in this particular building have been spending approximately 30 billion shillings a year in rent. That is not inclusive of how much we pay in hotels for hosting workshops and related services. This particular project is a 3-in-1 project. What we have concluded now is phase 1, which is the JLOS Towers. It is a twin tower building of 12 levels, 12 floors, I would think, which include 2 basements, but the basements actually is just because of the nature of the slope. We have the ground floor and the 8 other suspended floors and the service floor. It is I would call it a semi-greenhouse, a semi I would call it a building that has the high tenants of a greenhouse. We try to make use of natural light. It is has a limited maintenance cost in terms of painting because the external walls are made up of marble. We use less AC in the building. We have atriums on either side of the towers that bring in natural light to the building, and all this is done to ensure that we have limited the operational costs for this particular building, both maintenance and running costs. We do have a big conference facility with break-up rooms on the first floor of this particular building that is going to save us the cost of hiring hotels. In this conference facility we have the state-of-the-art multimedia and the sound and the audio-visual facilities, including booths for translation. These are things that we have been hiring from other places. We also have break-up rooms on the conference hall that can also host other related services. There is office space for the 8 institutions that are going to occupy the first phase. On one tower we have Ministry of Internal Affairs, the Office of the DPP, and the Uganda Prison Service. On the other tower we have Ministry of Justice, the Law Reform Commission, the Judicial Service Commission, the Tax Appeals Tribunal, and Uganda Human Rights Commission. On the tower we have waiting areas. We don't want people who are crowding in the corridors. There is enough space at the entrance with clearing areas for guests that come into the building. We're also trying to adopt what is done in the private sector, that you only go to a place where you are supposed to go. We don't want to have people just going to the lift and going to any level they feel like. We have scenarios where people have been seen hawking knives in some of the other buildings where we were. So we're trying to make sure that security measures are addressed. besides these office space and conference facilities, we have tribunal halls, because we have institutions that have a quasi-judicial function: the Uganda Human Rights Commission, Law Council, and the Judicial Service Commission. We don't want to handle such matters of quasi-judicial nature in a boardroom like we have been doing. We want to do it in a tribunal halls, where if the younger lawyer is errant, we shall put him in a dock. It don't have to sit on the same table with the prosecutors and the lawyers. We do have because we are dealing with people, they need to eat. So we have a restaurant and an inbuilt kitchen that will be used to serve. We are getting catering services. Of course, not to be paid by government, but to enable that, to make sure that the staff working in this building have got the requisite, they have a place where they can find a meal and other related services. We have a gym for ensuring that we have a healthy mind, a healthy body. For those like Elison, that sometimes find themselves not going to church on Sunday, you can go to you can go to church every day, because we have got multi-denominational prayer rooms. Not because I am a canon, but because it's a demand in the public service. We have got places.
We hope you don't have space for some of these Africanists. But
unfortunately, they are not. We don't have any of those of you who want to practice it in the open. You always want to practice it in. But if there is demand, you never know. Even for our brothers, the Muslims, we have provision for that space. We do have provisions for breastfeeding mothers as well. We are provided for some of the other services, like a one-stop service center for business registration. And the idea is to make sure that some of these, though they were not initially part of the design, they are taken care of. We have a multi-level parking deck, 3 levels for parking, and we do have at least some space, at the Parliament Avenue and all these other places. You cannot tell whether you are inside the building or you are outside, and so we have some place that you can use to cool off, even at the rooftop and in between the 2 towers. These are aspects that we feel make the building unique and easier to circulate for all those that will be working there and those that will be served within this building. We have even been able to provide for lounges for our drivers and bodyguards, so that you don't find them loitering in the corridors. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for that elaborate description. And I've had our audience is different. We have some non-lawyers. So someone has been wondering what JLOS stands for. That is Justice, Law and Order Sector. And this is basically a sector-wide approach that is comprising of different government institutions aimed at improving access to justice, maintaining law and order, and promoting human rights through joint planning, as well as implementation. That is for the lawyer, for the part of the audience that felt like they were not understanding what JLOS is all about. And for someone who might want to go and check out all these areas of the building, I don't know if that is permitted yet. I think you just have to show up and dress like you're going for serious business. But they have moved effective, when was it, March 16th. So right now they are at JLOS Towers, plot 19.
Oh, he goes looking like he wants to pray. Or he goes looking like he wants to pray.
Absolutely. You just have to show up like you're going to pray or you have serious business. And you go to plots 98 to 102 on Katalima Road. This is in Naguru, and you'll be right there. I like the part where he said there's a particular area where you do not know whether you're inside the building or outside. So I'm looking forward to that particular bit. But over to you, Miss Racheal. We're still taking a look at inside JLOS House. So beyond the physical consolidation, would you say there are measurable service delivery targets attached to the house in terms of case backlogs and citizen satisfaction along those lines? And how are they being tracked? Over to you, Ms. Racheal.
I hope I can be heard. So the design, like we mentioned, is...
And if you're just joining us, welcome to the Judicial Service Conversations.
Okay, so the design, as we mentioned, is purpose-built. Purpose-built for us, the people who are working in the building, but purpose-built for the people who are also coming to receive the services. So even the access, if you're bringing documents, if you want to register, there will be the one-stop counters where you can get the assistance you need, get the documents you need. The tribunal halls are conveniently located right at the access points. So in terms of the entire layout and the services that have been included in the building, it's intended to give you a better experience when accessing justice services, but also a more, the layout is convenient and it's done in such a way that it's not too complicated. So if I'm just coming to deposit a document, I'm not going to have to go all the way up to the 7th floor to deposit a document. That will be provided at a very convenient space because sometimes someone is rushing from one place to another, so they can drop off and head off. If I want to go to the one-stop service point, it's accessible nearby. I think Sam didn't mention that there will be a library, a law library, so lawyers as well, it will be easily accessed, of course with a few controls, because we know why we need them, but there will be a library, a law library, where you can come and do research, where you can come and access information. So it's really purpose built. It's designed to give you a whole experience and access to all the essential services that you need.
Free Wi-Fi would be there.
There's Wi-Fi, but not free.
He said there's Wi-Fi, but we cannot guarantee the free. But definitely the services will be there. So if you've come to the one-stop service point, then you'll be assisted in whichever way you need to be.
Thank you for that. And the last, I don't know if I am heard. Oh yes. Got neighbors here. So the last bit still to you, Ms. Racheal, is if JLOS House delivers on its promise, as we have seen all the way up through the conversation, what do you think success looks like in the next, say, 3 years? And how does the government intend to extend these gains beyond Kampala to the rest of the country?
So what will the gains look like? One, efficiency. I think that's most important, because people are seated together in convenient spaces with the necessary working tools. You should expect efficiency, and we expect that to keep on improving. The closer we are, the more coordinated we are, the more appropriate the spaces for working, the nearer the service points. Someone can, the staff will have their meals nearby, so you're not going to find someone saying, I'm hungry, I can't serve you. The food is nearby. So what we expect is that one is efficiency. Two, as Sam had mentioned, we expect to reduce some of our operational costs. what we've been spending on rent, what we've been spending on these other services, we can now plow that back and use it for operations. So we expect also to have more operational resources at the institutional levels that can be applied to actual service delivery, that can be applied to actually running and equipping and providing the services within the institutions. So it's just like in everyday life, when you stop paying rent, you have increased savings that you can now put into investments, into other things. So similarly, we're looking at reducing that operational cost and being able to plow that back into other operational service delivery areas. But also in terms of, we talk about all these services, but also in terms of, as Ugandans, the pride of knowing that your ministries are in a home, are in a decent home. You can proudly say, yes, as government, our government has decent accommodation and has its own home, and is not in strange places. So I think there's all that satisfaction as well. But definitely we're looking at efficiencies, we're looking at cost savings, we're looking at improved services. And as we continue to measure the services using the parameters that Sam talked about earlier, we will be able to track whether that is actually happening.
Okay, if you're just joining us. Thank you, Joy. If you're just joining us, welcome to the Judicial Service Conversations. Today we are looking at JLOS House, from infrastructure to impact. And I think there are a number of questions which I'm seeing coming into my phone, and I think we shall be able to get to some of them. Maybe if I can take you through just some. Someone called Enoch has asked, when ordinary Ugandans still wait for years in pre-trial detention, face bribe demands at police desks, lose land cases despite the access points being nearby, has the shift from concrete to actual justice truly happened? Or are we building beautiful buildings while ... I think that question, you will go to you, Racheal. I think there is also a question here. Has the infrastructure investment yielded a proportionate increase in public trust in the justice system? I think, Sam, that will go to you, as measured by citizen surveys. And then the third question I'm seeing is from Jesse. That one was from Council Aloyo. So Aloyo wants to know, has infrastructure investment yielded a proportionate increase in public trust? And I think I'll venture a quick answer to my brother and say that we will still answer, but certainly I don't know if people were trusting homeless institutions, but we shall we shall come to that. Or maybe they were trusting them more. The difference between the original church and organized religion. But anyhow, what metrics will JLOS use to evaluate whether a one-stop justice center, this is from Jessie, who is a frequent listener, she is a frequent listener, what metrics will JLOS use to evaluate whether the one-stop justice center model translates into faster ADR uptake for ordinary citizens? I think these are three questions I've seen. I don't know how we'll answer them. Maybe we'll start with, I think I'll give those two to Sam, because they're really the same about matrices. What metrics will you use to evaluate whether it can translate into a faster ADR uptake, or actually better services? I think beyond just ADR. And then the one of how will the investment in infrastructure yield a proportional increase in public trust? I think in relation to JLOS House, but also in relation to all the infrastructure.
Thank you to our brothers and sisters that are following us. I think we have this particular aspect already tested. We have seen it. We have seen the change that has come as a result of the investment we have had in the countryside. That now the people trust the system more than it were during the time when we were adjudicating under trees, and where we were putting women and men in the same police cell, I'll give examples of until about 4 years ago in Wakiso, Wakiso town. We had a police station where we had children, women, and men all held up in one cell, because that's the infrastructure that we had for a police station. Currently, we now have a fully fledged one-stop center in Wakiso, and each of these suspects are kept in separate places. And one coming with into that kind of system with this kind of infrastructure, I think it goes without explaining that you trust such an institution, that you trust that you will get services better in such an institution. And this is also buttressed on the statistics that has so far come out. You know, some of the things we are talking about are experiences, what you experience as an individual. It's not about what you get in your pocket, but your experience as you consume the services in the sector and these institutions. So we are using public trust to measure public confidence, and we are using satisfaction to measure the extent to which people feel happy with the services that are coming out of these institutions. So our belief is, if I go to Ministry of Justice and I have all of these aspects, instead of running to a JLOS House, then another place, then another one to get these services. You know, it has impact on your time, it has impact on your money, it has impact on even your mental health. Navigating Kampala is not easy for some of us who grew up in the villages. You
The crossing roads.
Yeah, because these roads, the roads look the same, the buildings look the same, and it is worse when you have borders and all these other people. Everybody is struggling to cross, and so this is something that we feel from our perspective, and it is a supply. We are looking at we are addressing the supply side constraint. And we are beginning to see that even the demand, this is not coming out of the need for us to sit in comfortable offices, big offices and so on, but it is coming out of the challenges that ordinary people, the ordinary Ugandans, the people who are vulnerable find themselves in. We have seen people, because of the geographical spread of these institutions, some people have become experts. You want to go to this place, 20,000, I can take you, and somebody rides you around town, and you go around the clock tower for about because you don't know, and they fleece you. So, but these are some of the things that we are trying to address. They look so simple, but they actually are happening. Generally, some of these things, it's like common sense. You don't even have to go to scratch your head to measure that I have my issue, that I have a matter that requires human rights address. It is coming. We have people who have had their matters decided by the Human Rights Commission. They have to be paid by the Attorney General, and when they go to Human Rights Commission, they think the money is there. But here, I go to Human Rights Commission. My matter is heard. Maybe an award is made, and I'm told that the person who is going to pay you is the Attorney General, and he sits on the 7th floor. I'll be able to manage these processes, and this is how we believe it to be done. Of course, some of the aspects that are being raised, like uptake of ADR. Yes, when we have these institutions close together, some of it is structured, some of it is merely because of proximity. Instead of going through a long process and so on, you come to a round table. Civil litigation is here, and these ones are here. Your matter can be addressed, and I think proximity of institutions also enhances the use of some of these innovations, including ADR.
Okay. Thank you. Maybe now over to you, Racheal, but there's another question which is similar. So we had two questions for you. There was one question from Enoch Seguya, who says, ordinary Ugandans still wait years in pre-trial detention, face bribe demands at every police desk, lose land cases despite access points being nearby. Has the shift from concrete to actual justice impact truly happened? Or are we still building beautiful buildings while? And then DK, who is Derek Kakoza, says, how can the justice, law and order sector move beyond building infrastructure to ensuring real, measurable access to justice for ordinary citizens, especially in rural and underserved communities? I think it's two sides of the same coin. How do we make sure that justice works for the people? And how do we make sure that justice is not just the hardware of buildings, but the software of justice? How do we make sure it's not just the fancy police stations, but that there are no police bribes paid at the front desk? It's not just wonderful court buildings, but it is no backlog. Why should someone spend years in pre-trial detention? I think I've summarized those questions well, but if you're just joining us, welcome.
Yeah, thank you to Enoch and DK. First of all, just to recap, because I think Sam mentioned it, we have had progressions in reforms from sustainability to brick and mortar, and then we moved on to results and impact. We are looking at so many other things that, on the systems approach to things, on reviewing our systems, automating processes, and dealing with some of these key challenges: pre-trial detention, case disposal rates, accountability issues. Those are some of the priority areas that we are dealing with. So what are we doing more than just building beautiful buildings? Yes, we are. But maybe Sam had become a lawyer. I'm also going to become a bit of an economist a little bit. We have, I think he always reminds me of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You can be pushing people to perform. You must work harder, and where they are, they can barely read a file, they can barely turn over. So the infrastructure is important, and especially people who saw where some of these institutions were coming from, not even in Kampala, but in the upcountry stations. You would recognize that there was a pressing need for infrastructure. So it was not a case of beautiful buildings. It was a case of dealing with a pressing need, that somebody has a working environment where they can actually do their job properly. But that doesn't mean we've ignored those other issues. Pre-trial detention is one of our primary issues, and there's so many angles in which you can deal with pre-trial detention. One is disposing of the cases, and we've looked at ways of expediting. But expediting those cases is not just about the judge sitting in court. By the time that file is ready for the judge to handle in court, there are so many other things that have to happen. Police have to investigate it, the prosecution has to peruse the files and advise. So what are we doing at those different stages? We're trying to improve the quality and the speed of investigations by training, by equipment, by using technology. We've improved on the forensics across the board. So there are many things that we do to improve that process all the way up to the adjudication of disputes. And this is what we're doing aside from even the infrastructure reforms. We're seeing how can we expedite case disposal. And Jesse was the one asking about ADR uptake. And I think you've heard a lot from the judiciary and from DPP about the efforts towards providing alternative methods, whether it's quarter-next mediation, the small claims procedures, plea bargaining, options that help to deal with these cases and move them through the system, addressing pre-trial detention. We've also had a lot of mechanisms. We're trying to automate our processes. We're trying to remove the human touch as much as possible in these processes to deal with accountability issues. A lot of these bribes happen because the system used to be very blind. I can report a case in police, but it would not be seen anywhere. So what that police officer does in a remote location, nobody knows except him or her. So with automation, then these processes are in a system where somebody can see, somebody can supervise, somebody can follow up. If someone reported a criminal matter in Amuria 3 weeks ago, and it has never reached the DPP's office. No, the supervisor can see it in the system. So those are some of the technological reforms we are working on now, using technology, using automation, using these other processes to deal with efficiency, but also to deal with accountability issues. So no, it's not just about the beautiful buildings. The buildings, where the construction has been done, it's been essential to provide a proper working environment, a proper environment for service delivery. It's an added bonus that they are beautiful. But yes, that's an essential part of providing the service. But we are also looking at the results, we're looking at the impact, and we're looking at those biting points that are affecting people. And now that we take away the problem of accommodation and that, we can now focus more attention towards these areas. And I think that's really the essence of it all. I think that covers both Enoch and DK.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. I think they are covered sufficiently, and I must say that I once worked in the Ministry of Justice, and I can confirm that the absence of basic things, like, for example, even transport to go to courts, there's a difference it makes between going to court. For many lawyers are not going to court, but also office facilities. The lawyers have to have their chambers inspected by the Law Council. Sometimes I used to imagine that if the Law Council had conducted an inspection on the Attorney General's chambers back in the day, they would have closed it, because the idea that legal space, the confidentiality of files, or incidentally, if the Law Council had conducted an inspection of the Law Council's own chambers, they would probably have closed the Law Council the way they refuse us, or some of us, to open farms. So I think certainly it makes sense to improve infrastructure, but I also think that the concern that comes through is also that there's some discomfort, at least from Enoch, about the delivery of justice, and maybe the feedback can be it can be improved. The other thing is, I had forgotten to say this. You talked about a nice podcast room. Of course, the number one legal conversation in the whole of Africa at the moment, without question, is the Judicial Service Conversations. We have serious control of the legal airwaves. We are almost like the American Defense Secretary in Tehran. The guy claims that he has full control of the airspace. I think we probably have full control of the legal space, and that is why, owing to public demand, we were named the Parliament of the Bar. So in all the facilities you've spoken about, I think, and we were corrected. We were corrected when we called ourselves the Parliament of the Bar. A friend of Mercy said that bars have a lot of parliaments. There's a lot of parliamentary discussion in bars up and down the country, so we should stick to calling ourselves the Parliament of Lawyers. If you're just joining us, welcome to Judicial Service Conversations. I think I will hand over to Alfred.
Thank you, lawyers. So you're just joining the Lawyers Parliament. You're just a bit late, but don't worry. This conversation is recorded on YouTube. You can catch up with the recording, even on TikTok. We are everywhere somehow, so you can always catch up. But you need to people listening in on call. Yeah, with a number, and this is coming from. I think this could be a mother listening with one of his sons who is at home and is wondering, now for a person like me who is at home and I've never set foot in court, why don't even in any government registry, why should the JLOS House matter to me? And because I've been listening this conversation, because you are my son, you are listening in, but why does it matter to me? And what difference do you intend to make? Like what difference do you want them to actually feel in their daily lives? For a person who has never been to court, never been to a government registry, but he has heard this whole story and even doesn't think he'll ever step in court, but he has heard that you have spent billions of money to build one building for everyone to come and access. So for him who is there, who doesn't think that he'll ever come to access such a building or such services, what difference do you think would be in his life? What was the rationale behind? Thank you. This is the I should address it to Mr. Sam, then my mom should answer the last one. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The CEO. Sometimes we have a feeling. For me, I will never walk at night until your car breaks down and you have no option but to walk. And so the comfort sometimes we get that for me I would never have this, for me I will never have this is sometimes something we should never bask in glory about. The people who go to these justice institutions they are not excited. Many times they find themselves in particular kinds of situations, and they have to find these places. I think it's better for you to know where to go in case you have a problem than to feel like I don't need them. What do I get from them? I had somebody was asking, Administrator General, for me I am not a widow, for me I am not an orphan, why do I need them? And they realized one day that he needed to get a certificate of no objection for a piece of land he had bought, and the person had not signed, the person who sold to them had not gone through the process. Yeah. So you realize that these institutions are very critical at any one given time. So the most important thing is to know where to get what service. Do you have an issue where you require legal research, where you require at least to make a contribution to changing a particular law? Yesterday I was talking to my son. He was telling me why in this country you cannot sit down here and get data from the US to help process. I said they cannot send their data because we do not have data protection laws. So you realize that person would have made some money, but because we do not have data protection laws, there are so many Ugandans who have studied. They would sit home and make money by processing data either from India or from the US and so on, but they cannot do it because we do not have that some of these critical elements. Now I was telling him, go to Law Reform Commission and tell them that they will help you. Not that Law Reform Commission will make the law there and then, but they will see that there is a need for this kind of law. If your rights are being infringed on, you know where to go. Human Rights Commission. If your lawyer has eaten your money, you know where to report them. If you have issues to do with the tax dispute, you know where to go. And so on and so forth. So this is the purpose of this one-stop center. That you go in one place and you know where to get state. You know, in the villages, the prosecutors are called the state. So if you want to look for state, you know that the state will be found in this particular place, and they will help you to manage some of these issues. So in a way, this is what one will get out of these institutions, these one-stop centers. They serve a lot. They have potential to serve everybody. They can effectively serve those that are requiring these services today, and for others. And of course, one needs to know that sometimes the comfort zones we are in become prisons. So you don't get in deeper into that comfort zone of prison. That for me, I will never require them. There is a time when you require them, and therefore you don't wait for you to require them so that you to start looking for them. You need to take that bold step.
Yeah, thank you. So for you, things you never need them. The difference is as and when you need them, you'll get them from one place. Exactly. Now, just takes me to the last question, the rumors in corridors. You know, I also made I also celebrated my birthday recently, and I made 25 years. Don't count my. So there is also rumor that JLOS is celebrating 25 years in the near. Yeah, JLOS is celebrating 25 years very soon, and I hope we shall be invited. I don't. Maybe you even have come with our invite, and we are not aware about that. So just as you celebrate 25 years, what does the future look like? And mothers are better seeing the future something more than this. So this Mama should answer this last question. Thank you.
I think what does the future hold for these justice, law and order institutions? It's really about service to the people, people-centered justice, justice for all. So we're looking at strengthening the reforms, continuing to, the beauty is listening to some of these questions and hearing what are those issues that people really feel need to be addressed. And it's our responsibility to just keep on making sure that those issues are addressed. The questions are not taken as critiques or as complaints, but as genuine, the genuine demands of people. So what does it look like? It looks like as a landscape, as a situation where these institutions are enabled, strengthened to be able to meet those needs that the community, that the people demand, because that's what they're there for. They're there to serve. So the better they can do it, the better the future is.
Okay. Better institutions, the better they can do it, the better the demand. And never say you'll never walk at night. I think we're coming to the close of the conversation. And as a culture here on the Judicial Service Conversations, we ask our guests to leave us with something. Books they're reading and songs they're singing in the shower. Maybe not necessarily in the shower, but songs they're singing. And if I don't know who will go first, who will volunteer to give us the books and who will volunteer to give us the song. What we do with a song is at the end we play it. The reason why we play a song at the end is because what we used to do on these conversations is that I used to make them play a song. Alfred, being the youngest one of us here, he has told us that he's like JLOS House, he's 25 years. Although he told us that when JLOS was formed, he was already in school, about to become a lawyer. Now he has become younger than JLOS, so of course he has been able to master the art of being young. But anyhow, so what we usually do, so in the past we used to play one song, and it was an Afrigo song, and the song of course was about me. A song Afrigo sang when they were thinking about me, and it goes Olimujawo. However, the founders of other organizations, the chief executives of other organizations, they said no, we need to democratize this music. So we are now trying to change the culture. It's as people have been changing culture in JLOS. It's very difficult, but we're trying to change the culture so that our guests can give us a song. So if we could get us three things: a song, books you're reading, a song will be played at the end, and then parting remarks. So between you, I don't know who wants to go first. Maybe I'll get Sam to go first and then Racheal to conclude. And that means that because I think we started with Sam, so we'll end with Racheal. But I think Sam will have the choice to choose if he's going to leave us with books or if he's going to leave us with songs. But before that, I want to congratulate all those of our listeners and other people who concluded their Law Development Center and successfully passed. They learned a lot from listening to the Judicial Service Conversations, but they will not credit us. But nonetheless, we congratulate them for having passed. Over to you, Sam.
Thank you, team, for this great opportunity. Thank you, team, for this great opportunity, and we're excited. We also have a podcast room now in the JLOS House. So one time you can just come and we have it hosted there
every Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah, we believe that is possible. I'm not good at singing, but I just leave you with just 2 books. One is simple, but I don't know. Sometimes when we read it, we do not get the message behind it. By Spencer Johnson. Because for us, we are managing reform, and the change has always been one of the things we do every day. So that book, Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. It looks simple, very easy. Few, the lawyers are used to read it. Black man is law dictionary.
Archibald.
Yeah, those ones.
Overachieving.
Those ones. So, and for me, the take in there is just appreciate that fear keeps you stuck in empty places. It's one thing that I've come out to. If you fear, you get stuck in empty places, and it's something that I feel you can get something to lighten up the other hard things you are reading. And then the other one is by Simon Sinek, The Infinite Game. My English is not very good because I didn't go to nursery school, so sometimes I mention these words in vernacular. The Infinite Game. It's about long-term thinking. You're asking about what is the future. What does the future belong to? We have not yet arrived. By building the JLOS House, we have not yet arrived. We are beyond now. Other people are talking about the JLOS House. For us, we are thinking about something different. We are talking about how do we import AI in justice delivery. Yes, and these are some of the things. So long-term thinking, especially when we are working with very difficult people, difficult teams, and people asking you very hard things, and we have rivalry across the divide. It's something that I believe can energize you and give you best way of doing some of the things. I just want to once again thank our listeners, those who have asked questions. This country belongs to all of us. The development partners have their own economies. When they bring us money, it is sometimes either to make sure that the businesses work properly, that the ground is level, that they will not have these challenges when they are doing whatever aspects they have, or they are influencing a particular way of our thinking. But it belongs to us, and nobody is going to create that wonderful change. We all have a responsibility and a duty to create that change. We all have a duty and responsibility to create that favorable environment for us to work in, and for us to manage our processes and functions. And I think what there are things we need to democratize knowing the law. So I'm sure they'll take away some money from the younger CEO. But it's a good thing. It's a good practice for us to democratize, for us also to have the knowledge and to apply it correctly. Let's look at these institutions as our institutions. The judiciary, the police, the prison, and so they don't belong to individuals. They belong to all of us. They are our institutions as Ugandans, and let's not demonize them, but make meaningful contribution to ensuring that they perform their function and serve us better. I thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Racheal. Feel free to also recommend books. There's somewhere where it says of much study and many books There is no end, so please feel free.
I noticed Sam conveniently left the song to me. For me, books, I know we're dealing with lawyers, but sometimes step away from the law and read something a little bit different. I like to read things that inspire, but also, inform you a lot. I like to deal with things that empower, especially empowering women. So one of the books that I read recently is by a Ugandan author, by somebody who I know, but I recommend the book because I read it and I found it very, very inspiring. It's called Madam Ambassador by Bernadette Olo-Frears. Madam Ambassador. It's a very inspiring book, but I think just as I give you a hint, she served as the first female ambassador to the Vatican, not female Ugandan ambassador, but female ambassador to the Vatican in 900 years. But her story is very inspirational. So I would recommend that read. I just completed it recently, and I would recommend it. So I think mine is the song, which I'll come to. But first, just to say, I really appreciate the discussion and the questions, and I hope we can continue the conversation. I know people still have questions, and we really appreciate the opportunity to demystify a lot of things about JLOS, about the justice system, about government. So I hope we can continue this conversation and have opportunities like this to continue to answer some of the questions that the public has. My song choice is in the spirit of this particular podcast, Judicial Conversations. I heard, and I always hear you starting with "No One Can Stop Reggae."
Yes.
So my song choice for today is "I Don't Like Reggae" by 10cc. It's not as hostile as it sounds.
Okay. Whether or not people like reggae, the fact is that nobody can stop reggae. Allow me to, if you're just joining us, I regret to inform you that you are late. And if you've been listening to us, you've heard an interesting story. Not just of putting up a building, but the story of putting up a system beginning to take shape. Not just a story of infrastructure, but a story of intention. A story to make justice visible, accessible, and real. Justice isn't measured only by what we say in the courtroom. It isn't measured only by what we do in our offices or in the courts. As our listeners are saying, it's measured by the feelings of the ordinary Ugandan, the person working in the market, the young lawyer, the founder. They need to feel justice working. And what our guests today, Racheal and Sam, have shown us is this: that change in the justice sector is not accidental, and that it is deliberate. It is designed like a building. Think of what it takes to put up a building. Sometimes it takes long. It may run from 1999 to 2026. So sometimes it takes long, but it's about design. It's about deliberation. It's about thinking about what the user needs. Our justice systems needs to be designed exactly like JLOS House. In this respect, JLOS House is not it's not a destination, it's a signal. It's showing us what justice should be like. Our justice system should think around the user of justice. The JLOS House is thinking of what happens if a worker in this building needs to breastfeed their children. What happens if they need to pray? What happens if they need to sleep? What happens if they need to go on the parliament of the bar where they have just offered us a podcast room? What happens? What happens to the user of the facility? And our submission, my humble submission as the lawyer's lawyer, is that the reggae the reggae that makes justice about the building and not the people is coming to we have to change the way we think about justice. We have to think about it like JLOS House. Service must replace delay. Access must replace distance. And what was the name of the song again?
It's actually called Dreadlock Holiday.
Red Long Holiday. Dreadlock Holiday. The song is Dreadlock Holiday. We need a holiday from the dreadlock of delay. We need a holiday from the dreadlock of backlog. We've been suggesting here that we need to invoke Article 142.2 of the Constitution, but we'll discuss that another day. But ultimately, if you're just joining us, we are here today on a true dreadlock holiday with our guests who have come from JLOS, Racheal and Sam, who have helped us, who have guided us, and who have been a fantastic addition to the Judicial Service Conversations. Please, as you go to sit in your new swanky offices, swing around in your upscale Naguru area. Just at, by the way, if you need to know, it's at police headquarters. Where police headquarters is where Katalima Road.
Yes.
There. I was going to say someone. I'm seeing someone here on the chat who's always there, but there's a Baba nearby, and the guy is bald-headed. But anyhow, if you're just joining us, from us to you, it's a great honor that you've been here. Racheal Odoi-Musoke, Sam Wairagala. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. It's a dreadlock holiday on the Judicial Service Conversations.
I was walking down the street, and I'm trying to write